For today is Jim Carolyn, who is a partner with Withers Bergman. Jim leads the U.S. Real estate practice for the firm and handles both residential and commercial transactions. His highlights include several financing transactions in excess of $100 million. He's done ground leases, office leases, retail, and closed luxury residential transactions, including one of the largest in the history of the United States. So Jim, it's my pleasure to turn the panel over to you, and look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thank you, Bob. That was great. I think one of the things that would be most interesting for people in the audience is to hear each of the people on the panel's responses to that very crisp summary of both the high and the lows in the market. So I think as we begin here, I just want to say I'd love to start this as a conversation more than a question and answer, which could be a little stulted. So why don't I, rather than go straight to Bob's partner, Paul, why don't I start on this end and ask Norm, what do you see as the strength and what are the reasons for hope in this market, and taking into account all the negatives that we've heard?
Speaking on what Bob just said, the country lost 8.4 million jobs. New York lost 140,000 jobs. We've regained 65,000 of those. So New York is short some 80,000 jobs as opposed to the millions across the country. The housing doubled it across the country. We don't have that in New York. In New York, it's a seller's market. The interest rate and lack of mortgageability, there's a feeding frenzy from the lenders when you have a commercial property that needs a loan. So there's New York, there's Manhattan, and there's the rest of the country.
Right, Manhattan's unique. Manhattan's unique, and I think that's right.
We are unique. We're an island.
Ofer?
One of the things that when Bob spoke about the optimism in this market, he mentioned, like we all read in the newspaper, about interest rates, and we know that in New York it's very tough to find a property. But I think that Bob did not mention really the major events that are happening right now in the world, in the Middle East, in Japan, in China. And in the last week, I've been waking up in the morning and I've been asking my wife or calling my friends in Israel, and I'm saying, is Gaddafi still in power? Is Syria going to be here tomorrow? And when you start thinking about world events that are happening in the Middle East and about wealth that is in the Middle East, in China or India, and where this money is looking for a safe place, they are looking to the United States. Because in the United States, you have law and order. And when most of us are taking it for granted because we were born here and raised here. I was, you can hear from my accent, I was born in the Middle East, not in Brooklyn, in Israel. And when you start thinking about it, that today you have a business and tomorrow it's gone, people are looking to put in the safest place in the world. And the safest place is the United States, and the safest place in the United States is New York. And when you come to New York, you're talking about Manhattan. So you are having tremendous capital that is looking for safe. They are not looking for 20 or 30% returns. They are looking to preserve their capital. And that is something that you maybe do not read in the paper, and that was something that Bob, I can tell you, was missing, that effect by itself has a huge impact on our market. The other thing that I think is the jobs. Everybody's talking about jobs, and I see that most of the audience here is, I would say, above 28 years old. And guys, we do not represent the job market in the United States or in New York or in Manhattan. Because if you will look the kinds of jobs that are being generated today, at least with my tenants in my building, I would say that 20% of my tenants that sign leases are not working from 9 to 5. Those are kids that are working from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to sleep, 7 days a week. They are on the internet. They are creating websites. They are working in a completely different traditional jobs that what you and I know. 20 years ago, I don't think in the Forbes of the richest people in the world, you would have kids below 30 years old. Just look at the list now. So the whole structures of jobs, the way we look at them, and we all know to read the Wall Street and they're reporting it's 8, 15, or 20, I can tell you that a lot of those kids do not have jobs the way we look at them. So it's a completely different world and we need to adjust to it. So those two factors, the different jobs, way of looking at jobs, and different capital coming to New York, makes me very, very optimistic about this market and why I'm still very bullish and still buying real estate here.
Great. Just to sort of focus on some commonality, so Norm pointed out Manhattan is unique in a buyer's market, and Ofer has pointed out two reasons for that. One is that it's a creative capital, and hence it attracts a lot of those people who work in non-traditional ways. And every time a bomb goes off in the Middle East or somewhere else, it drives capital here. And as a foreign investment person's lawyer, I see that too. Ira, what would you add to all that?
Well, the question focuses on optimism, so we'll just stick to that for this moment. With respect to the optimistic side, my comments have very little to do with the statistics, which is to take off from where Ofer was saying, why is New York unique, and why, talking strictly about New York and perhaps Manhattan, it really does revolve around the things that are not business at all, which are the sort of the cultural institutions and the quality of life in New York City. So the reason why I think people want to be here is the nature of the way that you can live in the city. I mean, in many ways, it makes no sense. You have small apartments. You pay a lot of money for them. Your taxes are higher than anywhere else in the nation. You have to send your children to private school at $50,000 a pop. So why does anybody want to live here? If you look strictly at the numbers, it makes no sense. So there's obviously something else going on. And what else is going on is it is a place to live. It is a very, very high-powered, culturally interesting, intellectually interesting environment. So you can't separate out the success of the city from its educational institutions, its cultural institutions, because these are the reasons why smart young people want to come and live in the city. So as Ofer was saying before, they work all day. Yeah, but kids who graduate from Yale or Brigham Young or the University of Texas, to a large degree, they want to come to New York to live. They don't necessarily want to live in some suburban community somewhere else. And the fact of the matter is the really smart ones do want to come here, and the aggressive ones do want to come here. And that's very optimistic, because these are the people that will create the new business, drive the new jobs, buy the apartments going forward. And the optimism essentially revolves around the non-business cultural institutions that support the city, because that's a large part of the reason why these people want to come and live and work here.
Great. So it's a creative capital, and that drives a knowledge-based economy and hence real estate around it.